Nintendo held a contest last year where fans had to prove they were the #1 Zelda fan in Canada. Zelda fans could express their fondness of the series however they pleased. I'm not a hugely dedicated fan, but I figured my odds were probably pretty good, so I made this video as my entry. This is a story about how I came to enjoy the Zelda series. The first Zelda experience I remember is from when I was about 6 or 7 years old. I saw a kid playing his Game Boy. Being a Game Boy gamer myself, I went to see what he was playing. Little did I know I'd soon discover one of my favorite games of all time, Link's Awakening. Noticing my interest, he allowed me to play a little. The game had me hooked instantly. Before long, I had to give his Game Boy back and go home, but it was a game I would not soon forget. Fast forward a few years, I had a friend who owned the game and didn't want it anymore, so I bought it from him. The game had such a quirky and hilarious world. There was the time the raccoon was laughing at me and boasting how I'd get lost because of him. The time a kid in the town told me how to save the game, but insisted he had no idea what it meant because he was just a kid. Answering phone calls from Alraira, handing a photo of Princess Peach to Mr. Right, stomping Goombas, fighting Kirby. I also loved the game's narrator, who was always full of excitement and sarcasm. The game had so many priceless moments. Not only that, but the game had this odd feeling about it, like there was something deep behind all the nonsense. And then there was the grand finale, a song I still find enchanting to this day, the Ballad of the Windfish. By this time I had a chance to play A Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo as well, since my brother borrowed it from one of his friends. I had become all too familiar with iconic items such as the hookshot, Pegasus boots, and bow. It was the first game I'd ever played to make me feel powerless and isolated in the game's world. It was incredible. You play as a hero who can overcome any challenge, then you wind up in the dark world where everything is twisted, including yourself. No weapons, no attacks, you're completely helpless and just have to try and do your best in a world where everything is against you. It was almost like a prototype for a horror game. Of course, to top it all off, the game had a memorable soundtrack. The song from the Dark World's Mountains left the biggest impression on me and remains one of my favorite Zelda songs to date. Just when I thought the Zelda series couldn't get any better, Ocarina of Time came out on the 64 and changed gaming as we know it. I'm sure everyone knows why this is considered by many to be the greatest game of all time. I could praise the game in many ways, but I'll try to keep it short. My favorite part was the ocarina itself. I mean, you could actually play it yourself. I love the freedom of being able to just mess around with it and play whatever tune you want, anytime, anywhere. It felt so immersive to have to actually remember the songs and actually play them note by note. It felt so rewarding to memorize them since they had cool effects like fast travel, making it rain, or calling your horse. As a bonus, the songs were pretty catchy and enjoyable. Then came Majora's Mask. It's hard for me to decide which is my #1 Zelda game, but it's either this one or Link's Awakening. It had a similar bizarre feeling to it. I mean, there's an ugly moon in the sky crashing into the planet, you're in some weird parallel universe full of familiar faces, and the game is filled with restless souls seeking peace. I know a lot of people dislike the 3-day time limit, but I love it. I love the way the game makes Link fail over and over again. Countless times he was unable to stop the Skull Kid from destroying Clocktown, and then you eventually kind of accept that there's nothing you can really do about it for now. You reset time for convenience without even bothering to confront the Skull Kid. I feel like the game is really dark, even though it's cartoony and filled with smiling people who stay positive despite their impending doom, and I think that makes it really interesting. Of course, collecting masks and using their effects also adds a lot of fun to the game. My brother bought me Majora's Mask for Christmas in the year 2000. I couldn't have possibly asked for a better gift. After that, I decided I wanted to play every Zelda game out there. My friend helped me out by giving me Zelda 1 and 2 for the NES as a birthday gift. It was pretty interesting to see how the series started, though the old NES cartridge lost my save data before I could beat the first game. A lot of people say bad things about Zelda 2, but I enjoyed how it took a completely different approach to the series. I remember it sent chills down my spine when I heard the remix of the Temple song in Smash Bros. Melee. I was so excited to be one of the few people to know where the song originated from. I remember a big dilemma as a kid was deciding if I should get Oracle of Ages or Oracle of Seasons for Game Boy Color. My friend and I were both very excited for the games. It feels kinda sad that a lot of people overlook these games. They're quite interesting and worth playing. We eventually decided that he'd get Oracle of Seasons and I'd get Oracle of Ages. Lucky for me, he eventually wanted to sell it, so I gladly took it off his hands. Now that I think of it, I got quite a few Zelda games from him. Needless to say, he was a great friend. I had fun times playing Four Swords on the Game Boy Advance, as well as Four Swords Adventure on the GameCube with my sister and friends. I was originally upset at Wind Waker for not being more like the Zelda games on the 64, but I eventually gave it a chance and had a great time sailing the seas and discovering new islands. I've beaten Minish Cap and I even played the Game & Watch Zelda game featured in Game & Watch Gallery 4. As I became an adult and started working, I gravitated towards MMOs instead of console games. I just work and never really buy myself anything. But when I heard a Zelda game was released for Nintendo DS in 2007, I went to my local game retailer and bought myself a DS with Phantom Hourglass right away. The creative use of all the DS's features really impressed me back then. Shocking as it may be, I never played Twilight Princess in those days. I had a GameCube, but all the talk of the Wii's motion controls made me want to get the Wii version instead. I thought that if the Wii remote would act as my sword, I'd need a lot of room to swing it around, so I decided I'd wait until I had more room in my house. Years passed and it just kinda slipped off my radar. In 2014, I married my fiancée and we started living together. She had a Wii U and a 3DS, which lured me back into playing Nintendo games. Conveniently, the Wii U also plays old Wii games, so I finally got my chance to play Twilight Princess as well as Skyward Sword. I also got A Link Between Worlds for 3DS. When it was released, we also got Hyrule Warriors for Wii U and put in a lot of hours playing together. I haven't fully played through Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, or A Link Between Worlds yet, since I've been catching up on a ton of great Nintendo games I missed out on throughout the years. I also still need to play through Spirit Tracks at some point. Perhaps I'm not the #1 Zelda fan in Canada. I don't have the biggest collection, and I haven't beat them all. But you know, I'm still a pretty big fan, and I'm working on getting through them one Zelda game at a time. There are many different things to enjoy about the Zelda series, including the music, characters, storyline, setting, minigames, and gameplay. Of course, I appreciate all these things. I especially like how every boss has unique attack patterns and a certain method for victory. The freedom of the inventory system is also one of the best parts of the games. It's amazing to have a huge variety of items that you can use anytime you want. To me, Zelda was always more than just a game. It was something that others shared with me, something I could discuss with other people, and it's something I'll never forget. The games inspired my imagination, motivated me to draw, and showed me new styles. These are some of the Zelda pictures I drew within the past 10 years. Link's Awakening gave me a certain appreciation for older art styles, with how Link had a big nose and a cartoon hairstyle you could only get away with in the 80s or early 90s. Majora's Mask taught me that you could pull off some really interesting shading if you dare to color over your drawing with black for the shadows. Of course, the Zelda series also motivated me to put several hours into making this video. In the end, I didn't win anything for this video, but that's okay. I had fun reminiscing on the time I spent playing Zelda games. What's your most memorable Zelda moment? Let me know in the comments below. Good night, YouTube.